Hello, hello, my listeners on the interwebs. You are listening to another Key.io bite-sized bits, where we are dropping those knowledge bombs to help you, help your team, or help your organization achieve its true potential. And today we're going to talk about a concept for those of you who are leaders. And if you don't think you're a leader, let me tell you, every single one of you are a leader in some way. You may not be leading a big organization, you may not be leading a team, or maybe you are, but you are leading someone. You're leading someone in your family, you're leading someone in your personal life, or you're leading yourself through this journey that we call life. And today we're talking about a mindset that will drastically help you think differently as you go about approaching these different things. My name's Luke Summerfield. I am coming to you from Austin, Texas, down south in the States. You can see the beautiful Capitol building behind me for those of you who are watching the YouTube videos. Awesome city, really great food. Ate too many tacos and too much barbecue as I was meeting friends down here. And so the thing that I want to start out with is I want you to think about a time when either yourself or someone on your team, something goes wrong. Someone screws up, something we didn't expect happened, and this inevitably is going to happen. And when something breaks, when something goes wrong, when someone screws up, or maybe you've had a scenario where someone keeps coming to you, keeps asking for questions, keeps looking for something, and you're like, oh my God, like, how many times do I have to point this person here or do this for this person or show them how to do this? Those are some areas where we as humans, we as social creatures, it becomes very easy for us to be quick to blame another person, right? It's easy for us to look for faults in other people. When someone messes up, when the system breaks, when things don't go the way they planned, we immediately look for someone else that we can blame. But the problem with that thinking is that there's always going to be more people. As you grow your life, as you grow your family, as you grow your business, your organization, you're always going to be adding more people, and so that variability of people is always going to be there. And knowing that, what we need to do is we need to look at things differently. And we need to think about things in the kind of business cliche of saying there are no such thing as people problems, there are only process problems. And when I first heard this, I was like, yeah. I mean, I've heard a million of these types of things, but as I became more involved in tackling some of these issues in an organization and tackling some of these issues with a team, it became more and more apparent that as I kept that in mind, there are no people problems, there are only process problems. It became more and more apparent that it's truly the case. There is always a way for you to find and track back the issues that you're having to some lack of process, some deficiency, some gap, some problem, something that's in the wrong order, something wrong with your process. And if you spend the time to diagnose why something happened and think about it from a process perspective, and take the stance of a true leader who does not go and blame people, but blames themselves for not building a process, not building a system, not building an organization that should check back against some of those things. When you go at it with that, that's where you can then really start figuring out how you can make impactful improvements that as you get more people, as you start growing, as you're scaling, you will have less and less of those problems. So if you think about back to that time when something went wrong, to where shit hit the fan and all of a sudden something did not go the way you thought, where someone came to you time and time again asking for something, think about that for a second and run a 5 why analysis, right? Ask yourself, why did this happen 5 times? And I would suspect that at some point as you're going through that 5 why analysis, something's going to come out in the process that was broken, in the process that was a gap. And so you as a leader need to be mindful of that and think about that, because as you identify those things, that's where you can go back and improve them. And when I was thinking about this and I first heard that, it really started to click, and it's, okay, this makes sense. I need to improve the process for people to go through. But then I'm like, man, what about if you just hire, you have the wrong people? Like, some people just don't get it. And sometimes you have the wrong people in the wrong seats. Like, that is a people problem, isn't it, Luke? I thought a little bit more about it, and it's not. It still comes back to a process. In that case, if you're consistently running into the wrong people in the wrong seats, or having people that are not capable of following the process or executing on the process or building their own processes, then you have a problem with your hiring process. It still comes back to the process. Again, there are no people problems. There are only process problems. And when you go through that, that could be when you start asking yourself, well, maybe it was just the wrong person. That's a red flag to go back and look at, how are you hiring people? How are you finding people to get into your hiring funnel? How can you improve your hiring process to ensure that those things don't happen again? Again, it goes back to, there are no such thing as people problems. There are only process problems. Well, maybe our managers aren't asking the right questions, or maybe they're not doing a good job of vetting these people out as they come in. Again, it comes down to your hiring process. And I think that's one of the things that you'll find, is that as you go through this, you can boil these down. You can do the 5 why analysis and boil it down into a process problem. So keep that top of mind. I'm going to give you some takeaways. This is a little short, bite-sized bit today. I'm going to give you some key takeaways that you can think about as you're improving on this. Sorry, we got a bunch of noise outside here near the Capitol here. So some takeaways that you can do. First off, as simple as it sounds, document your processes. Spend the time, invest the energy, step outside of the day-to-day, and invest the energy on your business to go through and document your processes. And a lot of times I hear, Luke, like, this is going to take forever. We do so many different things. Okay, identify the 20% of the things you're doing in your business that are making 80% of the impact, and write those things down, right? You probably only have a handful of functions: sales, marketing, hiring, or HR, like some really key things in your business. And then say, okay, for each one of those, what are the 20% of the steps that are making 80% of the process, and document those. You can literally get through, within a day or two, all of your major key processes and documenting them. Now, once you have those documented, then the next time you run through those processes, of course, you need to document the more details. But when you're first starting out and you're just trying to get the documentation of the processes down, start by doing those big high-level chunks. The next time you run through it, then have someone who's running through it go and document the deep dive as they're actually going through the process, and then assign an owner for that particular process. So when you look at your org chart and you look at all the processes that need to get documented, have someone, just like you have on a product or software team, a product owner or a product manager, you have someone who's a process owner or a process manager, and they're in charge of that particular process and optimizing and improving. Okay, so that's step one, is just like document it. I can't tell you how many businesses just don't document their processes to begin with, whether even if you're a one-person show or you're a two-person operation, you still need to document your processes. Do it early, do it often. Number two, make it a habit when you're talking, when you're reflecting to yourself, when you're talking to your team, when you're thinking about things that have gone wrong, and you're trying to go through that 5 why analysis, always go back. And no matter what the outcome, if the outcome is good, if the outcome is horrible, or if the outcome is okay, after you went through this process, go and ask your team, your individuals, yourself, what did you learn after going through this? And then pause and see what they say. And let them think about the things that they learned as they were going through this process. And guess what? Those responses, the things that they come back to you and say what they've learned, those are the golden nuggets. Those are where you are looking for opportunity to improve your process. And most likely, they're going to tell you something that you can go back and optimize your process. So whenever you're reflecting with a team member, whenever you're doing your one-on-ones, whenever you are something, someone shit the bed and you have to try and figure out what went wrong, go back to just asking, what did you learn through this? And then those are going to be your golden nuggets, which you can then go back and improve. You can also ask a few other questions. What would you do differently next time now that you've gone through this? Or what would I do differently next time? You can also ask, what would you do, how would you accomplish the same result in half the time? Right? And that gets their gears turning about how they can make process improvements. All of these things are reflection questions that you can ask and trying to, as you're developing this idea of constant improvement or how to improve the processes, even if the people, again, are challenged. These are questions you can ask. And then spend some time. If you're in charge of it or the process owners, have them book bi-weekly or even monthly time that they can invest in going back and having a Google Doc where they dump all those ideas, dump all those things they learned, things they would do differently next time, and then make sure that once a month at a minimum, or even bi-weekly or weekly, if you go through these processes a lot, have them go through and make those updates to the process. That's how you're going to continuously improve. Okay, so that's what I got for you. I guess my homework takeaway for this is to start incorporating some of those questions at any point, at any conversation. What did you learn? It's such a powerful question, and it gives you those little golden nuggets for how to improve. And just keep top of mind, whether you are managing yourself, whether you're managing a team, or whether you are managing a company, there are no such thing as people problems. When you feel yourself quick to blame, when you have those kind of thoughts about blaming or talking down to someone, imagine how to take a step back and say, this isn't the person's fault, it's my fault for not having a fully developed process that's helping nurture them or helping get them to where they need to be. Okay, so if you have any ideas on this, if you run through this yourself or you have some other ideas on how to build out process, feel free to go down into the comments and you can add a comment. If there is another leader, another team leader, another individual who's leading themselves or an organization that you think this would be helpful, this would be a good bite-sized bit, feel free, share this out, and make sure you subscribe to either the YouTube channel, if that's your mode of preference, or the podcast on iTunes to get more Key.io bite-sized bits delivered to you. You can also go to Key.io, Keyy.io, and click on the notebook for expanded resources, expanded thoughts from this episode. I'm continually adding things in, other resources, other blogs, other books that you can read. So there's a lot of other good golden nuggets related to this topic if you go to the notebook. Okay, so with that, I will wish you a happy rest of the day, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.